All right, let's do this. Let's talk about the Riyadh season LA card. Let's start with the main event. Terence Crawford winning it by unanimous decision. I think the scores were 115, 113, 116, 112, and 115, 113, if I'm correct. Any issues with the scorecards, Gareth? Because obviously Eddie Hearn in the ring, not happy at all after the fight.
Yeah, he did express, Eddie, that he thought it was two 116, 112s. And that's what he was unhappy about. And he was surprised that Madrimov didn't win on one of the cards. I had it 115, 114 to
Oh,
Crawford.
that's really close.
Yeah, I had them drawing going into the last round. I had first round I couldn't separate them, and I did give a 10-10. Then I gave 6 rounds to Crawford and 5 to Madrimov. So as I say, I had it 105 going into the last round, and Crawford winning the last round. But I thought it was a very, very close, very technical match, just won by Crawford. On the eye test, without scoring it, I would have said Crawford was a clear winner, which most people had. And most people have been quite vociferous about that. But I think they were both extremely patient. Madrimov even more so than Crawford. I tell you something, I wouldn't mind seeing them fight again. But what I did see in that fight was just how good Israel is after a handful of pro fights, and how much talent he's got. And I think what he'll go on to do as a boxer. I think they both had enormous respect for each other. But yeah, I thought Crawford was just a fair winner. But I wouldn't have argued with a draw either.
Yeah, there's two things there I think I want to pick up on. The first, that you scored around a draw, which I think more judges need to do. Some rounds are so close, and I think a judge would sway to a favorite rather than just give it a draw round. I think those draw rounds need to sort of be in existence way more in the sport. Not every round's a 10-9 or a 10-8. Sometimes it can just be an even round. So I think you're right in that. And the second thing as well, I think Madrimov's a lot better than maybe we thought he was, or a lot better than people gave him credit for, right? Because we hadn't seen him in there with an elite 154 pounder. And I think Crawford realized that very quickly as well. Like, his skill set and ability to keep up with Terence Crawford, all the switch hitting, all the off balance stuff, I thought was incredible. Honestly, it was a chess match.
Yeah, he did move very well, and he changed his levels. He did that bouncing on his feet in and out. He made himself a moving target, made himself very difficult. I mean, I don't know how you scored that first round, but I didn't really see. I saw almost one scoring shot each in that first round, and like you say, appreciate that we should be able to do 10-10 rounds. The overriding thing for me was I wouldn't mind seeing those two fight again. But the more I reflected on it, and I wrote a comment piece just before I left Los Angeles, kind of saying, I'm not so sure I want Terence to fight at super middleweight. And I think obviously Canelo has spoken yesterday in New York, and we'll move to Los Angeles with Edgar Berlanga, the Puerto Rican who is fighting on September the 14th in Las Vegas. He did various podcasts yesterday, and he's asking for an enormous sum of money. Talking in the region of 150 million US dollars to fight Crawford. And if you think about it, if you start with lightweight and Ricky Burns, and him beating Ricky Burns, Terence Crawford is going up to a 6th weight division. And we're talking about, because in the past, Manny Pacquiao, and it's no slight on him, Floyd Mayweather and others have gone up a weight division or up 2 weight divisions or up sometimes 3 or 4 weight divisions, fought a particular guy, and then come down again.
Yeah.
We're talking about Terence Crawford fighting the very, very best at super middleweight, and not picking an opponent that works for him at 12 stone. I think it's a huge ask. I still think he can look after himself, but we know what Canelo's going to do. He's going to go after him, load up, and try and smash him out of there. How does Crawford win that fight? Does he change his style completely, which he's capable of? He's southpaw. He could use that left to great effect. I just think Canelo might be a little bit too big, and I've got to kind of retract what I felt before, which was I really wanted to see the fight. And if you look at the comments from His Excellency Turki Alalshikh in the last 24 hours, I don't know if you've seen them today, but he's wondering himself now whether to put that fight on. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have. Obviously, look, prior to the fight, he was saying, let's do it. I think he was talking about a potential date in February. But I'm with
You
you.
were interviewing him at ringside, and he was talking about it.
Yeah, which I thought was almost dangerous, kind of overlooking Madrimov a little bit. And I thought this was a huge amount of extra pressure now on Terence Crawford, because they're already speaking about a fight being made before you've even had the fight that's scheduled. I will say this though as well. I'm with you. I mean, I don't want to see Terence Crawford versus Canelo anymore. Before the fight, I was like, okay, let's do it. But now I'm like, I don't really want to do it. I think the problem Terence has is he just wants to be in super fights. At this stage of his career, it's all about super fights. There are no other super fights at 154 or 160. I don't necessarily think he wants to go to 168, but he looks around. Who's at 160? Who else is at 154? I mean, Virgil Ortiz isn't necessarily a super fight. Potentially the Charlo brothers are out there, but they've been inactive and just not done anything the last couple of years, really. So I feel like he's unfortunate that he's now in a position where he's ready to have these fights, and there just isn't anyone to fight.
You know who I'd like to see him against?
Go on.
I'd like to see him come to the UK and fight a Chris Eubank or a Hamza Shiraz. I think that'll be good at middleweight. Yeah.
Are those super fights for him?
I think if they are as part of Riyadh season, I think the Boots Ennis fight will happen now as well. And that might happen at either 154 or 147. I think that is a super fight if they build it right.
Yeah, no. Boots potentially moving up, I think could make sense. I can't imagine Crawford's sort of squeezing into the 147 division. I don't mind the EUBANK one. I think EUBANK, and there was a lot of talk about that fight a few months back. I just feel sorry for Crawford in terms of what's out there. There isn't much out there. We're coming to the latter stage of his career where he just obviously wants to fill his boots financially, and there isn't much there. But in terms of a Canelo fight, I think after Saturday, I don't think much are talking about it. Crawford got hit more than I've ever seen him get hit before. And I was thinking if Canelo lands a couple of those big shots, there could be a problem. So, yeah, I think we've missed it.
One of the things I would say, and I said this to Crawford's team, I met his mother and father on this trip as well and really enjoyed talking to him. If you remember, his mother took the belt to him when he was younger, and he thanks her for that now. I found them extraordinary people. His mum thought I was a rock star that had come over to talk to her.
You are a rock star.
No, she thought she was mistaking me for someone from a rock band. So it was my in. I had a fantastic chat with his mum, and I said that he was very much a credit to her. And his father and his uncle I sat with for a while playing cards in the JW Marriott as well. These are some of the added bonuses of being an event. He's got an extraordinary family and team, by the way, and an extraordinary support. I really found a lot of beautiful people around him, and I mean that, and I'm feeling emotional to say that about him, because I've known Terence a long time, and I've always urged him to step outside boxing a little bit more, because I've always said, you realise what a big star you could be, and I've said this to him for several years, and he kind of doesn't like me saying it to him, but he said, I'm already a star, and yes, he is. He's an enormous star in boxing. But I really enjoyed in the last couple of weeks his skits with Eddie Hearn, going on the Logan Paul podcast, appearing in at the WWE, and seeing his mate pass out when they were on that ride and it going viral, and Terence giggling and giggling. There's a beautiful. He's a very stone cold man in lots of ways and gives nothing away. But there's a side to him that I'd love to see more of. He went on the Andre Ward podcast as well, and he was fantastic on that. And I'd love to see that side of him more. And I did express that to his team this week. And maybe he's just ready at 36, 37, with the last few fights having his career to do that. Like Joe Calzaghe was many years ago when he finally fought Bernard Hopkins and Roy Jones Jr. He seemed to be more comfortable with the media. And I really enjoyed that about Terence this week as well.
Yeah. Who do you think? It's not going to be Canelo. I think we can sort of move away from that now, especially because His Excellency is now almost kind of poured a bit of cold water on it as well. Who do you think Crawford fights next? Again, His Excellency did say you can have your pick of anyone if you want in February. Who do you think that person opposite him is going to be?
I think it might be a rematch of Madrimov. I think it might be Boots Ennis. I think if Chris Eubank comes into circulation again and has a good victory, I'm understanding that he might be fighting in October. Then I can see him fighting one of those. And I don't really see anyone else for him. Like you say, he's quite unfortunate in a way.
He's unfortunate. He's unfortunate, honestly. Like Jamel Charlo would have been the one, right? Jamel, especially considering the way he kind of goaded Jamel after beating Errol ringside. That's almost seemed like the fight to make. And Jamel's done nothing since fighting Canelo. So, yeah, look, we'll see what happens.